Hello class. In this brief video we will be covering code sections 2037 and 2038, and as you can see here I have detailed the Internal Revenue Code provision with respect to this code section, and you can do that reading separately. You're unlikely to encounter this code section in practice because it was basically established to prevent income shifting practices occurring where income streams were given to, say, kids for a short period of time with a reversion provision for the grantor to get the property back after a certain period of time. And this was done if you wanted the property back by setting up the trust so that a reversion occurs. If the spouse was set up as the remainder, that setup was the reversion. If the reversion occurred after a 10-year period of time, then it wasn't includable in the grantor's gross estate. The current law says that if the actuarial value is more than 5% of the interest measured right before the decedent's death, and if someone else receives possession of the property by surviving the decedent, the two criteria needs to be there, then the reversion interest is included in the decedent's estate. If it's less than 5%, then income interest is excluded from the decedent's estate. And there's an exception, and that exception is a bona fide sale of that interest in full and adequate consideration for money or money's worth. If Section 2037 applies, it includes the value of the property as a whole. Again, due to the change in the law to keep these trusts that were being set up, you're going to very seldom see trusts set up that are pulled back into the estate under this code section, which is why I'm not going into a lot of detail on it, but this is here for your reading. With respect to code section 2038, again, this is just an excerpt from the Internal Revenue Code. And with the exception of transfers that, again, are bona fide sales for full and adequate consideration for money or money's worth, any interest transferred by the decedent under this code section for which they retain the power to revoke, amend, or terminate that interest is included in the decedent's estate. And this is seen most frequently, with a revocable trust. So in that instance, in a situation where you have a revocable trust, you will include the full value of the trust. However, if you can only control a specific interest, then it's only that interest that gets pulled back into your estate, and it's the actuarial value of that interest that's pulled back in and not the whole trust value. Finally, the interest that gets pulled back into the estate is reportable on the Form 706 on Schedule G. So that's it. That was not too difficult. Sections 2037, 2038 is covered in more detail, of course, in the discussion forums. And I will see you next week.